On behalf of myself and my colleagues in Southeast Skåne, I would like to welcome you to this day. My name is Magnus Wiberg. I'm the local government commissioner of this beautiful community of Sjöbo. Innovations and entrepreneurship is important for all people in the world, also for us here in this corner of the world. We realized a couple of years ago that most great ideas moved to other parts of Skåne. We wouldn't like to have it like this, so we started up this innovation center. And this innovation center today, we are hoping to get the local farmer, the local companies, new ideas how to develop their business. So on behalf of me, I would like to welcome you again. And I hope you have a really, really interesting day. And good luck. Thank you.
Thanks for the invitation and good morning, everyone. Very happy to be virtually in Sweden. So I will present you today a brief overview on the rural development and hemp. So how hemp can help enhancing jobs and growth in rural areas, and particularly in Skåne. I will try to give you some very quick context element. I will go through the different hemp applications and why they're so good for the rural economies, and make a last point, but very important, on Skåne and Sweden. So very quickly about the European Industrial Hemp Association, we represent the whole value chain of hemp, from farmers to processors and traders in all type of parts of the plant. And of course, our main mission is make your business grow. So we need to develop your business, and we do so by doing advocacy and regulatory work towards the European institutions. But also we try to build, because Geoff mentioned the need to get together. And what we try to do is to build a network of companies around Europe. We have more than 300 members, mainly companies, that could eventually steer the knowledge in the hemp sector. We are a team of 4, mainly women, which is, for me, it's very good, and also one of the reasons maybe that we are working well. Now, we are in Brussels, so as you can imagine, we are your representative, so the representative of the hemp sector in Brussels. So we take care of all the policies, including agricultural policies. And here I would like to make a very brief context on rural development. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? And how, we'll see that later, hemp can help seizing these opportunities. In terms of challenges, of course, we have some socioeconomic aspects, like a lower income in rural areas, depopulation, the need for bringing new blood in the countryside, be it in Sweden or elsewhere in Europe. We have a technological gap that we need to solve through innovative solutions, and in particular digitalization, broadband, digital tools, smart farming, etc. We have an environmental problem, and at the same time, the solution lies in agriculture, because, as you know, we can stock carbon and we can take care of the biodiversity. Farmers are not only producers of food and feed and raw materials, but they are also, let's say, they do conservation of the land and our ecosystem. So the opportunities, of course, that lie ahead of us are great because of a change in the mindsets of people and of society and economy. We will be experiencing a return to the land, meaning a growing population in the rural areas, thanks also by new mobility solutions that we will make it easier for goods and people to travel from countryside to cities. I mentioned the potential of agriculture, and it's not, as I said, only for production of food and feed, but also for raw materials, for green economies, and in particular bioeconomy. Last but not least, agriculture can deliver ecosystem services, which means an ensemble, a wide array of positive externalities for the environment, but also for the society and the rural economies. Just few numbers, so we know what we're talking about. Almost 45% of the European population lives in rural territory. 20% of the population on 45% of the European territory. I mentioned that we will see an increase of the population, which will hopefully go at the same pace of an increase of jobs and growth. What is the European Union doing about rural areas? We will be seeing soon in 2021 an action plan, a communication for non-legislative and legislative actions aiming at further increasing the aids and the measures that will help the development of countrysides. And these go through the Common Agricultural Policy that maybe some of you know, but also the Horizon policy, which is the research and development funds of the European Union. But we have many other tools, financing tools, such as the rural development funds and the Interreg plan. So we have been seeing Brussels that there is an increased attention towards countrysides. We've seen the difference between cities and countryside is becoming more and more highlighted. Also specifically in some countries, I'm thinking about France, the yellow vests that were protesting around France, they were mainly people from the rural departments. So there is a need to take care of countryside's interests. So now, how hemp can be of help for the rural areas? What we say at the European Hemp Association, Industrial Hemp Association, is that actually hemp is the real Green Deal. We just published 2 months ago a very comprehensive paper explaining why we can help achieving all the different ambitions of this Green Deal, this sustainability and growth package promoted by Commissioner van der Leyen, President of the Commission van der Leyen. Because hemp can help reconcile agriculture with the environment and the industry. Why? Because by providing raw materials for the decarbonization of the industry and ecosystem services, including a very important carbon capture potential, it actually make the contribute of agriculture over positive, because we store carbon in the soil, we store carbon in the bioproducts, but we avoid the extraction of the alternative extracted of fossil materials. I will not go through all the details of why hemp is so good for the environment. You can find all the information on our website, but I will be happy also to reply to your questions. In any case, it has a wonderful effect on the soil, on the air, on the subsequent crop, and on biodiversity, because it does not use as much pesticides and in general phytopharmaceutical products as the other crops. So it is a very good example of citrus crop and sustainable crop. Now, I will go quickly through some product that already exists or exists on the market, just to show that there is already some interest from the consumers, but also from the side of the big brands. We see here food supplements, hemp seeds and hemp biomass have been used as food for centuries, especially for its very rich oil seed that has wonderful nutraceutical features because of the high content in omega-2 and omega-3 and omega-6, sorry. And this makes hemp also a wonderful resource for feed that could even enhance the animal products such as eggs. We've seen and we've been seeing more and more hemp in cosmetics. It's a huge market. Big brands like Garnier are starting broadcasting advertisement on TV. I'm here in Belgium and I watch French TV, and I've seen that in both countries. great applications because it's an antioxidant and it can it also has transdermal application for very specific cases. Textile, in my opinion, and correctly also in the opinion of many others in the sector, will be one of the main applications for the future. And in my opinion, we need to accelerate this development. There are already brands like IKEA, Patagonia, COS, Levi's, Nike, Adidas who are starting prototyping hemp in their pets. It's becoming more and more interesting also in the medical application because the hemp fiber can be as antibacterial property. It has been studied for the uses in bandages, in bed linen for hospitals. So just thinking about the medical application and the possibilities for public procurement, hemp textile, I can tell that it will become a big thing, as it was a big thing in the past, because until 1940s, for example, France, Italy, and the Soviet Union were the biggest producers in the world. Italy and France had more than 100,000 hectares, and hemp was an asset commodity for textile production. Construction material, well, the technologies are ready. We can build a whole house out of hemp. We have bricks, load bricks, in situ casting, casted walls, prefab walls, insulation material. And the nice thing is that it's not only good for the planet, but it also has great thermal performances. So also in terms of performances, it might even be better than traditional materials because it keeps the thermal balance and allows you even not to use the heating system. I encourage you to surf on the internet and watch all the houses that have been built out of hemp in UK, in France, in Spain, everywhere in Europe, and please get more information and you will see how effective hemp can be in construction. We mentioned plastics and composite. Geoff talked about the automotive industry. It's also the whole mobility industry, even the production of non-man-controlled mobile engines offers great opportunities. But any type of good that needs strength and lightweight. So, and what is more important here, and it's particularly true for the plastic sector and composite sector, is that hemp complement the synthetic material. So it's a great tool for both for the industries, for the plastic and composite industry to reduce their carbon emission, but also for consumers to have a product that is much more environmentally friendly and allows you, because of the lightweight, to decrease your energy consumption. And it's particularly true for the cars, for example. But there are companies doing, for example, we know that the French railway company is working on a project with flax and hemp fiber for some parts of the regional trains. But opportunities are huge. Sporting goods I mentioned, but also chairs, tools, anything, even the plastic straws. And we can use both the fiber and the cellulose out of hemp. It's not an exhaustive list of things that we can do. There's much more. There is paper, absorption and filtration papers, graphene for the production of batteries, alternative capacitator, alternative to the graphene and lithium, but also oil for the chemical industry, energy, heat, and much more. Now, well, we've seen how many cool things we can do. It is almost too good to believe, but it's true. I mean, I've been working in the sector for 2 years now. I joined the association 6 months ago. I was before working for the European Farmers Association, and well, allow me to tell you that I chose consciously because I do believe in this sector. And how now hemp fit your region and your country, Sweden and Skåne? Well, let's take a systemic approach and look at all the elements that, like a puzzle, would allow your business to grow. So what are the success factors? Of course, we have the general context. We need a favorable business environment allowed by good regulations and scientific environment. We need the basis, farmers. We need the production potential, land and know-how. We need synergies with the downstream actors in the supply chain, and capable of also like convincing consumers that hemp is the product that they want to have, and that is good also for society. Well, if we start from the context, of course, this year has shown that new concepts were brought were put on the table, starting from sustainability. Cooperation and solidarity are the two, again, I like repeating this. We need to collaborate, we need to start dialogues, we need to get together. It's the basis for solving problems that affect whole humankind, or more generally, a broader geographical area, let's say. In this case would be Europe. European policymakers have been talking about raw material sovereignty, and of course the relocalization of essential businesses. Textile could be one example, but we have also medical application, food, protein production, and we are all looking at 2021 as a year where we need to boost jobs and growth. So let's say that the health and climate crisis contributed to a positive context. In terms of production potential, we can see that in Skåne and in Sweden, you have, of course, available land and very good farmers that are also organized very well in cooperatives, producer organization, and areas that are well connected with the peri-urban parts of your country and the industrial tissue. Just few numbers here about the use of land. You know that hemp can be cultivated in rotation. Cereals is perfect for the rotation with hemp, and it's also the first surfaces in Sweden, and a big part of Skåne production. Now, moving a bit downstream in the value chain, we can also see that in Skåne and Sweden, you have already synergies in place. Just to give you some examples, three different examples, starting from the livestock and milk sector. Why do I mention this? Because as I said before, hemp is a wonderful source of protein, of vegetable proteins, and it brings very important compounds to the diet, like the fatty acids that can benefit the life of the animal, but also the products that are produced from that animal. And I'm also thinking about poultry production. We see here milk, livestock, and we know that Sweden is a big milk and meat producer. Now, for the industry, you have some of the biggest food companies in Europe. Food industry in Sweden is the third largest, with the consequent amount of people employed and industry turnover. So hemp seed for the production of veggie burgers or veggie meals, but also like raw seeds, the oil, but even the packaging. You can do packaging with hemp, and that will be a great synergy with the food industry. Last but not least, and this is the main focus of our today's conference, bioeconomy. I took this from the Innovation Skåne website. I gave a read about what are your highlights. Some I knew beforehand. Automotive and mobility industry is for sure offers the most impressive opportunities because of the lightweight materials, but also we have any other advanced material. We'll have probably today the Borås University who is working on smart textile using hemp for making advanced application. we have the clean technologies. Just to give you one example, the windmills, there are prototypes that use hemp fiber for consolidating the polymers. And you all know how the clean tech industry can be consuming fossil and extracted resources. So imagine only there the great opportunities. We have also opportunities in lifestyle, life sciences, because of the other compounds of the plant. So it's nice because we have everything in this plant. It's a multi-purpose crop, and we encourage our farmers to grow it and to process it using the different products that it can bring. Finally, just some words about the business environment, which according to me and to our association, it's becoming more and more positive at the European level, but also national level, because there are more and more research and development bodies working on hemp. Sweden, I'm very much lucky to have different clusters. You have the Medicon Valley shared with the Denmark, which is a wonderful cluster of in the medical sector. You have some of the best universities in Europe already working on hemp, already working on innovations in textile application, in bioplastics, in biomaterials. So you have all the right actors in place. From the Brussels side, we've been seeing all the green ambitions that the Commission has for making Europe climate neutral. At the United Nations, but also in Sweden, I know that you're talking a lot about Agenda 2030 and all the sustainable development goals for the future. And finally, we have been seeing that the sector is collaborating, starting creating associations representing their interests at national and European level. We are the European associations, and we encourage this collaboration through cooperatives, to producers associations, but also interbranch associations that help coordinating the value chain. And of course, I need to highlight the importance of doing advocacy and public affairs at national and European level. So some very brief conclusion now. I will be happy to take questions. Hemp is coming. So I encourage you to build bridges, blend hemp with other materials, encourage other companies to take into consideration hemp. And of course, get together, but also get on board, become a member of HEA. We believe, we think global, source local. This is our, let's say, motto. And we believe European and Swedish hemp sector. Thank you very much, and hope to see you in Sweden next time.
Vet ni vad? Vi kan hjälpa till att rädda planeten. Varenda del av oss kan användas till något, och det behövs inga bekämpningsmedel för att vi ska klara oss. Bara genom att finnas till minskar vi växthusgaser i atmosfären och renar jorden från gifter. Av oss kan ni göra papper av alla dess slag, så träden kan få bli hundratals år gamla igen. Vi kan bli till plast som bryts ner av naturen, så hav och sjöar kan få vara hav och sjöar istället för soptippar. Våra fibrer är mjuka, slitstarka mjuka, ekologiska. Ja, vi andas som bomull. Fast vi behöver inte enorma mängder vatten för att växa. Skona planeten från föroreningar och använd oss som bränsle. Ni kan bo i hållbara hus gjorda av vårt byggmaterial. I oss finns alla viktiga aminosyror, massvis av mineraler, vitaminer och proteiner och läkande cannabinoider. Vi har funnits i era medicinska skrifter i tusentals år. Vi har tjänat er som material och mat genom alla tider. Vi är vad ni kallar naturens under.
Varför odlar vi inte en massa hampa då?
Hello, Per Martin. How are you?
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for signing
very
in.
well.
You are not only the mayor, you are also a farmer.
Yes, this is the third generation farmer on this place, so I have it in my blood. So it's an honor to start this conference, and I really welcome you as a mayor of Tomelilla municipality, and I see a future for hemp. This has been my thoughts for many years because I am an owner of a farm, as you say, and therefore I always think of different ways to develop it. And I also have a neighbor which has grows hemp for many years. Firstly, hemp is a fascinating plant which is very aggressive while it's growing because it's opposed to other plants, as I know. The potential in the region we live in is in corpse production, building materials, plastics, food, ethanol, fabrics, and other processing. With this word, I hope you'll want to put down the flag on the global hemp map with intention to be a search of knowledge and full-scale test lab for industrial hemp in southern region of Sweden. And it's in the time with the climate discussion, and I hope you will enjoy this place and develop it. Thank you.
Much, Per Martin. We feel very welcome and we are very excited to be here in the south of Sweden. So let's hear very shortly from the head of business development in Tomelilla, Henrik Lundblad. Are you with us?
Yes, hi everyone. Thanks, Clara, and thanks for setting up this incredible event. Well, I feel almost like Per Martin stole my pitch for hemp in Sweden, but
well, that's great that you are in the same municipality then.
Yeah, and maybe it's a good sign for hemp because I sincerely think that it can play a very important role. And as Per Martin said, we really want to work with all of you to set up a knowledge and test facility to support the hemp research and industry, also in Sweden, where we have some miles to walk together here. So we really look forward to this event. It's incredible. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Henrik. So I hope everybody heard what Henrik said. They want to put down the flag on the global hemp market in this region to create a knowledge and full-scale test lab. How exciting is that? Imagine 5 years from now what we're going to look back to today and think about what Henrik Lundblad and Per Martin Svensson from Tomelilla told us today. And please note to everybody from Sweden that we in the rest of the world, sometimes when we speak about hemp, we talk cannabis, because the Latin name that is our Swedish forefather Carl von Linné. He has named this plant, family plant, cannabis, and hemp, industrial hemp that we talk about today, has the Latin name Cannabis sativa linnaeus. So please don't get mixed up and confused that we are talking about other things. We are talking about agricultural crop. But now we have the honor to move over instead to Miss Kim Kovacs. And I am so happy to have Kim with us here. She is the CEO of the ArcView Group. She is the first board of director of a cannabis and hemp investment company. She has been raising capital. She's an angel investor. She worked with the government on the Clean Action Plan, and she also co-founded Global Hemp Day, where I had the opportunity and the pleasure to see her in action and to meet her in this digital world. And I was so amazed by you, Kim, and you are such an inspiring role model, and it's so amazing to have you with us here as an investor, and from a woman's point of view also. It's, for me personally, very inspiring to have you here, and we know that it's midnight for you right now. So hello, and thank you for being with us.
Oh, well, good morgen, or Morin, I said. I guess you don't pronounce the G's there, so sorry about that.
No.
But yes, it's a little bit after midnight here in California, but very excited to be here, Clara. What a great event. And, you know, we can't say enough about global hemp and the industrialization of hemp, and just the opportunities are just tremendous. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation this morning.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it would be amazing, before we dive into some of the questions, it would just be amazing to hear about you, like your success story and your background. Like who is Kim Kovacs?
Well, you know, it's an interesting journey, and as you said in your intro, you know, cannabis is sort of many things. It isn't just, you know, the marijuana plant, the THC plant. It is also hemp. It's the industrial hemp. It's CBD. And I didn't know that probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I think, like many, I sort of stumbled into this industry as a result of my mother-in-law, you know, consuming to get off of opioids. And so when I realized sort of what this whole plant could do, both from a medical standpoint, from a health and wellness standpoint, and now in the industrial hemp sector, it is just an incredible thing. But my career started out in technology. And so I've had 6 different startups. I've raised a lot of money, over $100 million for these startups. I've had exits. I had my first clean tech company back in early 2000. So I know how hard it is to create a company that is really doing good and creating a sustainable, you know, outcome, and trying to be profitable at the same time, and also to attract investors, because a lot of times those don't all go together. And so, but to me, being an investor is also equally as important as being an entrepreneur. Because I think, as you know, you are starting your companies, and I think there's a lot of people out in the audience today who are doing that. You're your number one investor. You know, when you're making that decision to start a company, you know, and put your life savings into it, and putting your time and your energy, and you have to be your number one investor, and you have to convince yourself this is the best thing that you could possibly do. And to me, that's what I'm here for at ArcView as well.
Thank you so much, Kim. That's very uplifting to hear. Yes, you are right. We are many here, especially the ones from Sweden, who are starting up companies and who are like seeing the whole world and how amazing this business opportunity is and the market segment. So yeah, we are really excited to have you here. And so I'm wondering, like, first of all, like, could you just tell us a little bit about the ArcView Group? Like, who is the ArcView Group, and what are you doing? And then after that, like, what is the interest and opportunity in investing in hemp and legal cannabis? Like, why have this company chosen to work with this market segment?
Absolutely. So just for a little bit of background, so the R2 group has been around for 11 years. And actually, Steve D'Angelo is one of our co-founders of the R2 group. And so when we started, we were really very focused on the legal cannabis, marijuana-based cannabis market in the United States, and finding opportunities to bring investors and companies together in person at events to be able to fundraise and being able to support, this nascent industry here in the United States. But at the same time, we were also really focused on advocacy and creating legal markets, both in marijuana-based cannabis and hemp-based cannabis as well, and really being on the forefront of that change. And so I look at RQ historically as really being sort of this place where people could gather, they could build trust, and then invest in companies. So during the course of our 11-year history, we've invested over $400 million in companies. We have had a tremendous amount of success. We've seen a lot of companies blow up, but we are really now doubling down, I would say, in the investor space. And as a result of sort of reformatting of RQ and kind of really looking at what we wanted to do for this next generation of RQ, we created some additional companies within the RQ family. So we're now called basically an ecosystem. We have RQ Ventures, which is for early stage investing. We do, I would say, sort of sector investing. So we have things like the RQ Women's Network, where we invest in women companies. We invest in diversity and inclusion. We have a social equity program and funding program that we're rolling out. And we also have an industrial hemp focus, and this will be a specific venture fund that is going to be really, really focused on the industrial applications of hemp, and that's going to be something we're going to be announcing here pretty soon. So you get the first view of that one, or the first time we get to say that one out loud. We also have R2 Capital. So as companies need more capital, and they're looking to do mergers and acquisitions, or they want to go public and they need a bigger investment than a venture round or an early stage round, then they go to R2 Capital, and that is a registered broker dealer here in the United States. Right now, we're really just doing deals in the US, but we do have the ability to, what we say, sort of publish deals or to work on deals together with others in different countries. And so we're actually looking at doing that in Australia first with some groups in Australia. We're already doing that a little bit in Canada and looking to come into Europe, and would love to do Sweden. And so to me, those are really great opportunities for companies to engage with us and to kind of get into that funding cycle, whether they're very early or they're starting to look at sort of bigger deals and M&A and bigger transactions. Last year, at the very end of last year, and actually as a result of Global Hemp Day, we decided to launch what's called R2 Consulting. Wrap up with R2 Consulting, because I think this is also really important, especially as we are talking about global hemp, right? Hemp is not in any one country. It's going to be a global product. It's going to be a global supply chain that we're going to all rely on for so many things. And so R2 Consulting has been working with, multinational companies, how they're getting into the hemp market, where they're going to start. We did a big deal or a big promotion and program with Asia Horizon, talking about hemp production in China. And so we're really, really going big, I would say, globally with our consulting group as well. So that's kind of a little bit of our view.
Wow. I'm just want to rephrase what you just said. You said you've been raising $400 million. Is that in cannabis and hemp, or in all that you do?
Yeah, so RQ Group historically has been in basically cannabis. However, the last few years, because hemp's only been legal in the United States since the end of 2018. And so there really wasn't a lot for us to invest in, but now we're seeing a tremendous opportunity, not just in sort of the CBD. So we did a lot of that sort of, a few years ago, but now we're really focusing in on the industrial hemp. We just feel there's such a greenfield opportunity, if I could use that word, to invest in hemp and all of the different industrial applications. And there's so many different avenues for investors who don't want to invest in cannabis, even in the legal states in the United States. And so this is such a great opportunity for them to, get in on the ground floor, work with our venture team, work with, some of the startup companies that we have that are really making some major changes in industrial hemp.
Thank you. And I think that this is very interesting because like right now, what you said about that this is for the whole world, it's not just one country. Because, for example, me personally, I was turned down for the 4th time by our biggest funding grant institution because they are saying, well, hemp is already commercialized in other places. So it's very nice to hear what you're saying, that this is actually maybe even regional and not just country-wise. And if we would have played the video with Steve, if that would have been able to play, which we hope it will be later, he would also have talked about that. So I'm super excited to hear more about your industrial hemp, and we are so pleased that you're announcing it here and that you also are looking at Sweden, because this is a great opportunity. We don't have any market segment right now. We have a big demand. We are importing a lot, so there is great opportunity. But back to USA and some data figures in the USA and maybe some forecast for the growth.
Yeah, so again, it just became legal a few years ago, and I think there was, and you'll see this in the data and the statistics and things like that coming out of the United States. So there was really kind of an overplanting, if you will, of really CBD type quality hemp, right? We were really focused on CBD. CBD became a buzzword. A lot of people were doing, hemp just for the extraction of CBD. And so there was a lot of that was planted, and then it's still sitting there. So there were only in 2020, about 500,000 acres of hemp planted in the United States. So that's like nothing really. I mean, if you think about how much we could use, especially in sort of industrial supply chain and different types of applications. And so what we're forecasting basically right now in the United States is about 9 million acres within the next 10 years. Wow. And so if you look at that, I mean, that's, about 20 times what we planted last year is really kind of what we're looking at from a demand standpoint. And this is also, keep in mind, not having full supply chain. This is, bits and pieces that are popping up in different parts of the country. But we need to invest in and create those opportunities in the supply chain. So where I think we are going to play, from an ArcView standpoint, is investing in the supply chain, investing in technologies. And so, different genetics, everything from, ways in which to grow. We're really big on carbon sequestration right now. So if you look at just from a global perspective, really every single company is going to have a carbon neutral or a carbon negative sort of strategy. And so how do we, from a hemp industry, right, especially in the US, try to really get to that? And how do we support that today and show those customers a pathway to not just grow the right type of hemp for creating, seed and fiber, but also, how do we support the entire supply chain? Because if you're, I like to use this one as an example. I mean, if you're Amazon and you want to start replacing, cardboard boxes, you're going to need quite a bit of supply, and it needs to be consistent, and it needs to be dependable and reliable, and it needs to be cost effective. So all of these things really sort of need to play out. And so kind of looking back at the data as well, one of the other things that we're really pushing for here in the US is, how do we subsidize, the early, movers in this market? How do we subsidize farmers to grow hemp and to make sure that it is profitable for them on day one, so that they can continue to grow hemp as we start to build the rest of the industry out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's really interesting, and we're hoping that the carbon sequestration is coming. Do you have any political policies benefiting the growth of this market right now? Is there any earmarked money? I thought I saw something about the Biden administration talking about carbon farming.
Yeah. So the Biden administration is really very focused on this, and actually, there's some industry folks who are really talking to the Biden administration right now about that specifically. But it also goes back to, how do you actually measure those credits, right? How do we actually go through and say, 1 acre of, hemp sequesters as much as 1 acre of rainforest? Well, we need to show that. We need to demonstrate it. We need to prove it. We need to be consistent. And so, organizations like, SASB.org and others that are creating standards, we want to be part of those conversations and be front and center right now. I believe hemp has a seat at the table. I think we have that seat. We're not the head of the table, but we have a seat at the table. And I think it's time for us to really start to talk, very holistically about the regulatory process. Do we have subsidies for farmers? Do we have, the rules in place that allow us to grow hemp without being constrained by, differing laws, right? I mean, in the United States, the FDA is still kind of not sure about hemp, right? We can't ingest hemp and have that be approved by the FDA. So they're very cautious, but we need to make sure there's a level playing field across all states in the United States. And if we can get to a place where Europe, you guys are already ahead of us, in creating, a better set of standards, especially around industrial hemp, we need to do the same. And so I think that's really front and center, as you were saying about Biden, because, he's got a big plan here for getting to a carbon, neutral and carbon reduction. And, hemp can answer that. I think out of the 12 points he's addressing, hemp can do 10 of them.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
There's no other plant or any other technology on this planet that can do that.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
right?
That's really exciting. You're so right. And also what Steve was talking about in the video, and which we're going to hear from later, is also the 17 Sustainable Development Goals within Agenda 2030. It's the same there. Like it's like, it's almost none of all those 17 that you can directly reach. So we are wrapping up, and I know we have so many questions for you from the chat as well. So you have told us about the potentials, but how does the challenge look? And my next question directed to that also is, and I think that we're going to see something good here today because of Francesco Merizzi, who's coming on after you. Because the reason why I wanted to include USA in this conference is, even though you were just legalized now, it's like we're on the same side when it comes to like this, that we need a standard, we need to move forward, because the rest of Europe is ahead of us here in Sweden. I mean, when you talk about 9 million acres, I'm not sure if we even have that in Sweden, but it's I think that maybe we can have some benefit from each other in terms of knowledge and so on. So my two questions would be, what are the challenges you see, and also what are your thoughts on the European industrial hemp market and the potential of collaboration around that?
Well, so let me tackle the challenges. Okay, so I think part of our biggest challenge in the United States is really kind of matching demand with supply, right? So right now, demand has been created with CBD. And supply was created as a result of that, and there's now a mismatch. And so people are a little reluctant to jump in and just, grow hemp for the sake of growing hemp. But I think there's a couple things that are happening that will kind of boost supply and allow us a pathway to start growing hemp in the acreage that we need to then start turning it into other things. So for example, chicken feed. I love talking about chicken feed. So the US FDA, along with some of the other, governing bodies, including Department of Ag and so forth, are fast tracking, at least that's what we've heard, the allowance for using industrial hemp seed to feed chickens here in the United States. Now, if we can get that done and we can start to at least supplement some of the chicken feed with hemp, that is an incredible win for the US and an opportunity for us to really get started, I think, in putting more plants in the ground that can then turn into other things. So Department of Ag is really kind of looking at some other projects, one of which we're working on with a customer of ours, which is also working in indigenous lands. And so indigenous people in the United States have, 50 million acres of land, and they can start potentially growing hemp and making money off of that land for the first time ever. You think about what we sort of did to the Native Americans, in the United States, it's not a good scene. And here's a chance for us to right some wrongs and allow them to get to a place where they are actually contributing and making money off of the land in which they've been given. And so there's some really interesting things, I think, on the political side. Now, you asked about Europe, but so I was kind of mentioning about sort of the indigenous, tribes and peoples and lands here in the United States, but that also kind of really goes across the globe, right? If there's ways in which we could, as the U.S. or, as a world, as a global economy, start to really look at the demand for hemp-derived products, it will bring up a lot of countries, a lot of areas in the world that don't have the means with which to survive, and hemp could be that for them. There are communities in Africa. I was looking at something that's going on in Afghanistan, potentially. I mean, there's so many different areas beyond just the industrialized nations where we can start to maybe incorporate hemp if there is, as you said before, sort of this global standard. So what I love about Europe is that you guys are, sorry, I don't mean to include Sweden in that, but Europe is ahead, like I said, of the US. I mean, you've, created standards for, grading processed hemp fiber. We don't have that. So we have a lot to learn from Europe, and we want to learn. We don't want to try to reinvent anything. You guys, that's been going on for a while and doing really well. And so from my standpoint, this is why I think globally that we need to embrace hemp and not just do it regionally or, kind of looking at it in sort of a bit of a microscope. And we did that with cannabis here in the United States, right? Each state has its own sort of cannabis rule, and that's really tough. It's tough on supply chain, it's tough on regulation, it's tough on brands. And so we went that route with cannabis. And so I'm hoping that we learned our lesson there too, and we really embrace, standards globally.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that sounds great, and I'm sure that you're going to really like Francesco's presentation, and I hope that there can be some synergies also. With what stimulating interest do you see, like to explore further, and enthusiasm for the future? Feedstock is that's get going, but where is the moonshot?
To me, I think the moonshot is carbon credits. I think that hemp will be the winner when it comes to that new currency. And I think if we really start measuring it now, we start to really look at how it plays a role in our planet. It's regenerative, soil, it's regenerative farming. We could literally grow hemp and just cut it down just for the carbon credits. And so if we think about, how much the earth actually creates an opportunity zone for us to change that, I think we have such a big moonshot. I would like to see the next SpaceX. So I'm going to challenge Elon Musk or maybe another billionaire out there to create, a hemp X. And so that we can then create the technologies across the board, right? I mean, hemp sequesters carbon even in its final form, Clara, right? You know, buildings still sequester carbon.
Yeah.
They don't omit gases like concrete does. I mean, it's an incredible thing. So I think if we just band together, create this challenge, you know, each of us in our countries, and we create this hemp X, let's just do that. Let's stop messing around.
Yeah, let's just do that. That sounds like an amazing plan. Yeah, thank you for being such an inspiring role model, leader, and just like it's amazing to listen to you, and it gives us a lot of oomph and boost. So I'm going to turn to Marie Elving, chair of Industrial Hemp Association in Sweden. She's here in the studio and she's the moderator of the chat. So what do we have for Kim from the chat?
Well, there's we have discussed different platforms here. I mean, we're one type of platform, and you're another type of platform, and we have kind of different approaches to reach the hemp. We're like, and we have a question here about which platform you think is the best way to find money and investment for the industry, because obviously in the States you're very market oriented, and here we're very sort of government led in a different sort of way.
You know, that's a great question. I think that's also a great question for anyone raising money.
Yes.
Because you have to, and I say this regardless of the industry, which is, you know, if you're starting out, you've got a company, you need to fund it, you need to really look at the universe of investors. And there are investors who do very early stage. They will invest in things like maybe a filing for patents, you know, in pre-patented technologies, all the way to about ready to IPO or doing a SPAC or some other crazy thing, you know, on a US or even a Canadian exchange. So there's this broad spectrum of investors. And so what I would say is that I don't think there's any single platform that's going to work for this particular industry. We need billions of dollars. This is not something that is going to just be a few investors putting some money together. This is really an industrial revolution. And if we don't treat it as such, Mr. Ford, if you don't build the highway from Detroit to California, nobody's going to be buying cars. And so you have to really look at how much this infrastructure is going to cost us globally to really make this happen. And so there's a challenge that I think we all have in trying to raise money. So there are different mechanisms in the US. If you're a US-based company, there's a lot more open to you. But we also have investing partners that we work with globally. Sort of Global Hemp Day, you know, Canatech. I mean, there's investors who will look at deals from different countries based on their thesis, right? Their charter, the way that they want to invest. And so if you have a compelling story that matches what they're looking for, then go for it, right? But be really careful in sort of like who you go after, because it's a very long process and it's going to take a lot of time. So you want to really kind of do your research on who you're approaching for an investment, just to make sure it fits.
It is very important to spread the hemp world around Europe. We're doing our job here in Brussels, but we also need the help of all the private sector in the member states. So let me first introduce you to EIA. We are the Industrial Hemp Association of Europe. We are a team of 4 in Brussels. I deal with bioeconomy, environment, and agriculture, while our managing director, Lorenza Romanese, she's in charge for the food and nutritional aspects, including cannabinoids and other phytocompounds. We decided to share a bit the competencies because the hemp world is huge. There are a few regulatory issues regarding CBD, as you all know, especially in Sweden. So we try to keep it as neat as possible. We also have our great communication officer who is in charge of the communication campaign and reputation. You all know how important communication is, especially in the hemp sector, and our office manager and membership manager, Monica. So let me first start with the 3 key words and by explaining to you what we try to do and who we are and how we're structured. So science, transparency, and collaboration are essential for pushing the hemp sector forward. You know the difficulties that we are having around the world. That's why we need to rely on science to prove that hemp is legitimate crop, and this has also been also acknowledged by the European Commission, but I will come back to that in 1 minute. We need transparency. I mean, the future of advocacy and lobbying relies on transparency. We value very much this element. And of course, collaboration. We cannot move forward if there is no knowledge sharing, if there are no partnership going on between the academic sector, the private sector, and the public institutions. And also why I would like to praise you for the great work that you're doing in Sweden by putting together all the different actors. So what is EIA? We are a group of 300 and more private companies and federations around Europe. Our mission is to make your business grow. I would like to start with a quote that I like very much. The largest way round is often the shortest way home. We've been struggling to make hemp a commodity. We're still struggling. We do not have to rush. We have a lot of shortcomings, especially in the regulatory aspects, but we really see the light at the end of the tunnel. It would not be before the end of the year. We might need a few more years, but we need, by relying on science, transparency, and collaboration, we need to work together to make things straight. So that is also why we have a scientific committee. I'm happy to tell you that we have more than 30 universities from Europe and beyond in our scientific committee. We have, of course, a board that supports us and the different working groups. Our role, of course, is to push forward positive legislation that will help you in Sweden and elsewhere in Europe to grow hemp and to transform it. We need to work on reputation, as I mentioned. Communication is very important. We try also to build, and we're building networks of companies to facilitate exchanges and investments, and of course, knowledge, reliable knowledge. This is something extremely important. So I would go quick in some slides, but I have only 59 slides, but I like you to see those slides also after the conference. We have different working groups. Of course, we are very much focused on food and food supplements. Seeds, seed oil, and extracts. This year we try to focus a bit on fiber and textile because of the great potential that these products might have on the global market. And of course, we're working on all the agriculture and environmental aspect, including farming practices to sustainability, carbon farming, which was mentioned by Kim, and of course, advocacy and communication. These are a few, all the universities that are in our scientific committee. Please, if you have any contacts in public research centers and universities, tell them to join us. Again, we have this, let's say, club of researchers where we discuss about the latest news in the research. Well, again, our scope, and it's the same as the Swedish sector, is industrial hemp. We do not work on hemp smokables, we do not work on adult use hemp, cannabis. And we are only like taking a look at what's going on in the medical hemp sector. So our philosophy, it's quite straightforward. I just mentioned before some of these elements. We have to work together. The objective is not to get the biggest slice of the cake, but to make the cake bigger, because we have an enormous potential. And especially because we are a sector, hemp is a plant that can be grown everywhere in Europe, and is the only fiber, a natural fiber, that can be grown everywhere in Europe and almost everywhere in the world. That is also why we value very much local sourcing. Of course, we need to share knowledge globally. We need to create global knowledge, global networks, but the local sourcing is extremely important, because we are the greatest example of plant that could fit the agriculture of the future. And again, science-based policymaking. Now, let me tell you why, from our point of view, this is the right moment for hemp. We are in the right context, because humans, we just acknowledge that humans are part of an ecosystem, and that sustainability needs to take into account this principle. We discovered only a few years ago about the bacteria in our guts. We're now experiencing a virus that came out of a cave where bats were living. We need to change the approach to reality and to our economies. We also realize that the common problems require common solutions. And with the disruption of the supply chain and the climate crisis, we saw that we need to rely on local raw materials and to adapt our economies to our local communities. We are now shifting from what was before conceived as corporate social responsibility, so trying to offset the negative externalities to creating shared value. So we have to build communities where value is created in all the elements of the supply chain and of the community, which requires, of course, to some extent, a relocalization of the production potential, which will bring to jobs and growth. So here in Brussels, we can also say that we have the right policy tools. I'm a fierce Europeist. I believe that Europe will save us from nationalistic stances and individualism, because again, common problems require common solution. And now we're now expecting the adoption of the next common agricultural policy, which we call it like greened. So we have a more green common agricultural policy. We've seen the Green Deal that was published, and we expect many other changes in the European legislation that will steer towards more sustainability in manufactured goods, in agriculture, in all the sectors. And this is a great opportunity for industry, because we can now invest in products and in technologies that will be the technologies and products of the future. Well, I will go very quickly on this. So this is the right moment for the right plant, and the right plant is hemp. You know very well all the environmental benefits of hemp, including benefits for biodiversity, the reduction of inputs in terms of phytosanitary products. It doesn't mean that there is always no use of phytosanitary products or water, but it is considerably low compared to other crops. Some researchers show that compared to cotton, hemp needs 75% less water. You all know what are the problems of cotton. You saw what is going on in some Chinese provinces, the minorities problem in the Western China. So we need to find new solutions. Then, of course, the great fact of hemp is that it is a multi-purpose crop, which means that you can make more products out of the same variety. We are not perfect, which means that we need further research in terms of breeding. We need new varieties, and it is also why we are pushing for an increase of the THC level in the field from 02 to 03 to be aligned to all the other countries in the world, but also to push a bit forward the research and the genetic research and the registration of new varieties. So we are the real Green Deal. We published at the end of last summer, like in September, October, we published our Green Deal. You can find it on our website, where we explain all the great applications of hemp and why it is a perfect crop for the sustainability policies. So we are the Green Deal. Honestly, sometimes I feel like I'm almost not working. I'm enjoying what I do very much, and sometimes it's so easy to push hemp forward. Sometimes it's also very difficult, but I believe that our best advocates are science and common sense. So it will become easier and easier in the coming years. Here, just some idea of what we consider the greatest products for their market potential. There has been, as Kim said, also in the US, in North America, a boom in the CBD production, in the phytocannabinoids. It is not the first market of hemp for the future. As I said, hemp is the only natural fiber that we can grow in Europe, and we can do wonderful textiles. If we could not replace but complement other natural fibers and synthetic fibers, we would occupy like billions of euros of markets. We in 2019, the synthetic fibers market was around $167 billion. So you can imagine how a transition towards a bio-based economy could profit also hemp fiber. So I'm very happy that we are especially focusing on bioeconomy today. So what are the future perspectives? We believe that hemp will become a major plant protein and a major raw material for bioeconomy. As I said, we need further research to develop the triple use of hemp, meaning using the fiber and sheaths with the seeds and the green material for the extraction of cannabinoids, but also terpenes and other compounds. In the previous slide, I didn't mention, but there was a little logo recalling the green economy. There is like so many research papers that have been published on the uses of plant extracts and plant essential oils in agriculture, for example, or as alternative to synthetic phytopharmaceutical products. And I join Kim on that. Carbon farming will be a major game changer, but we need the processing industry to follow. So of course, we can grow for carbon storage, but we also need all this biomass to be used in a sustainable way. And that is also why the investments are very, very important. Now, let me give you what we perceive as a very good news ahead of us. The European Commission, following the European Court of Justice ruling of November called Canavape case, I will explain it a bit better later, is now reviewing the EU legislation to make sure that, it is updated to the latest scientific literature and this Court of Justice ruling. So we expect positive changes that will make hemp in all its form and all its products a legitimate crop that can be grown and can be harvested everywhere in Europe. You know that we have big problems with flowers because some member states consider them as narcotics. They are not narcotics. It has been clearly stated by also the discussions in the United Nations, wherein last year CBD was also considered not as a narcotic product. There are many further developments that we need to make sure that they happen at EU level and United Nations level, but they will come. They will come, and we are very positive because, we believe that the truth will prevail and science will prevail as well. So stay tuned for that. We hope that before the end of the summer or beginning of September, we have some good changes coming up that will have an impact on national legislation. So my idea was now to go through all the main products made out of hemp and to just demonstrate how what great opportunities we have at the moment and ahead of us. So food, of course, is the most developed market, if I may say. Our position is quite clear as EIA, and it might be confirmed also by the European Commission, hopefully soon. Hemp food is not only seeds, but also flowers and leaves, provided that, of course, the products that we get out from flowers and leaves respect the natural content of cannabinoids and so are not enriched, the extracts. And of course, provided that we use traditional methods of extractions and not new technologies. In this way, that would become what we call novel food, but that would require a market application. Why the food, the hemp food, especially hemp seed oil is going very well on the markets, because there are trends that are going in the direction of more natural products, local foods with high nutritional value, and that can help maintain the homeostasis, so the balance, a balance in our body. The hemp seed benefits, you don't know them pretty well. Great source of fiber, vitamins, and minerals. The fatty acid spectrum is just perfect, and the ratio between omega-6 and omega-3 is just one of the best for the vegetable oils, as good or even better than olive oil. So, you know, we've been praising very much on the markets olive oil. Now also you in Sweden can do a wonderful vegetable oil that is perfect for all people. It's also a very good foodstuff for raw material, because hemp powder, so hemp proteins and hemp flour can be used in processed food. It is a great alternative to protein mixes. And we already see on the market so many products that are either like already on the shelves or in being developed. We can see here some names, also like big brands as Carrefour or Aldi, Metro, or Kaufland. They're providing their consumers with hemp products. So you see, everything is already there, and we just need to wait until we have a better regulatory framework and more investments to move forward. Just a few words on cosmetics here, and another good news for you. Well, you know that hemp oil and hemp seed oil is very good for cosmetics production, and we just received yesterday confirmation from the European Commission that, according to what is called the Cosmetic Ingredients Database, which is the European list of ingredients for that are, let's say, authorized informally for cosmetic production, we have a new entry, which is CBG. So now the European Commission is saying, guys, CBG, one of the cannabinoids in hemp, can be used as a legitimate ingredient in cosmetic. So this was an overview on the products. Now let's get back to a bit of history and how the status of hemp and hemp food changed in the course of the years. In 1997, all the hemp products were food. Then that's where all the investment started, and the market in Europe started for CBD products, for extracts, for everything. Then in 2018, the Commission said that it can be novel. Then in 2019, that it's all novel. Well, if I may say, we're very happy that we, EIA members decided in 2019 to create a real Brussels office here. Lorenza was hired, and really we started doing advocacy and sharing information. So we risked last year having a very bad interpretation of the European Commission that might lead us to become like a narcotic. I mean, the flowers and extracts. But at the same year, the Court of Justice said that finally it's not a narcotic, and we did a lot of work to convince also with scientific proofs that it was not, also the European institutions. I mentioned this Canavape case, which was brought to the European Court of Justice. And it is very positive because it clarifies the status of extracts in the EU. This will have, as I said, a domino effect that will entail changes also at member state level. So in your legislation in Sweden, we are expecting, it's very positive because member states cannot prohibit the marketing of cannabidiol. It's very positive, and we'll have major changes in the coming months. So some of you know about our novel food application, but I will skip that. Just you have to know that we are conducting toxicology studies on CBD and THC that will also reinforce our scientific stances. We're also working on many regulatory stances here in Brussels, including marketing standards for hemp, THC residues in food, THC on the field, and of course providing a EU definition of hemp, which is highly needed. Then let me go very quickly through fiber and textile, plastics, construction, and paper. You know all the greatest opportunities. I already mentioned why it is good for the environment. I'm trying to go very quick. So I already mentioned the market opportunities for natural fibers and how many billion US dollar we might gain from a shift towards bio-based economy. We already here have some examples of great products made out with hemp in the textile market. And we, as I said, we're focusing very much on this product within EIA. Construction as plastics, the technologies are ready to go, while for fiber, for textile, we'll still need major investments in decorticators, in spinning and weaving facilities. You all know how plastics and construction material have a negative impact in terms of environment. The good news is that for both plastic and construction, we have ready to be deployed, technologies that are ready to be deployed. You will check the slides later. I will go very, very fast forward. Again, we can do basically everything with hemp composites and hemp plastics, from cars parts to skis, straws, luggages, everything. And we can also do 3D printing and injection molding. So the technologies are ready, it's there. If you need any contacts, please get in touch with us. So the high yields in terms of cellulose prove that we have a bright future also in the paper market. So quickly again, to wrap up, some conclusions and take-home messages. Hemp offer solution. To be very brief, we can have environment, creating new jobs, healthy food, and a decarbonized industry for a European economic recovery. As I said before, we are better together because unity and cooperation make strength. If you wish to get in touch with us, please write to us. We have our conference coming on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of June. We have invitees from the European Commission. We have a member of the European Parliament, and we will discuss about everything from fiber to CBD and more. So let's build a future together, a bright future together, and keep in touch.
So we see the Swedish food sector as an uncut diamond. It is the third largest industry and a core sector of Swedish economy, and it has the potential to become the new innovative growth source in this decade. And Sweden Food Arena stated our own goals for 10 years ahead. We want to become the top 3 innovation rankings and create 50,000 new jobs. And we also want to find innovation giving 10 billion Swedish kronor. And we need to increase the export. And Sweden Food Arena is committed to lead our goals in evidence. And we have just started. So Sweden is an innovation nation. We have hundreds of years of successful collaboration research between the institution, the state, and the industry. And that has brought us from being one of the poorest countries in Europe to be one of the wealthiest. And you can see here in the Bloomberg Innovation Ranking, Sweden leading the innovation. But it's not the same story for the food innovation. We are actually there on the more modest 14th place. And we want to change that at the food arena. We want to learn from the successful collaboration research made in the other industries. And we are obsessed by innovation, and that is because it is linked to growth and to acquire market share, but also export success. So, and we also did some research ourselves trying to explore the innovation frequency and the success of our industry. And they are very innovative, but they innovate in increments, the food sector. And we want to change that because we need height in innovation to reach our goals. So we are working to change this. The arena originates from a governmental bill written 4 years ago, where it stated that we need to create a sustainable food production in Sweden, and we need to increase the number of job opportunity, but we also need the knowledgeable, aware, and conscious consumer. So that upon this, Sweden Food Arena was formed, and it's formed by the whole of the industry. And we work for innovation, the collaborative research. We do two things. We do industrial policy work to highlight what is an effective innovation system. And we also do innovation support by starting consortia in our industry. So we are our members. We are the whole of the value chain. We are primary production like LRF, and then we are the food industry like LI in Swedish, and then we have the retail, ICA, Coop, and Axfood in our organization. So we are, the arena is a large arena, but there are also two people at site, and that is my boss, Marie Gidlund, head of operations, and work with the industrial policy work, and I myself work with innovation and forms the consortia. So what we do influence. We influence politics and authorities to give a picture, to paint the picture of our sector. And typical feedback from us is size, target, and design of calls. And the input goes, for example, to the food strategy bill and the research policies and all the different programs associated to food. In everything we do, we refer to the industry's priorities, if it is the policy work or actually the agenda. So you see here two books. First, it is the policy of describing the industry and painting a vision of the future, being based on this type of research that we wish for. And the second book here is the Innovation Research Agenda, describing what the industry needs to fulfill the food bill. We live and breathe Michael Porter's value chain. We work according to this philosophy of viewing the whole of the value chain at the same time. And the food sector, of course, includes a lot of different value chains. And you see here how they differ in their need of development. It is very much unique to each value chain, but there is also issues that they have in common. For example, in this picture should illustrate gastronomy being something that they need to solve together. And the arena's position is rather unique because we can have this holistic view and we can identify areas where we can do research together, simply to maximize the effort and maximize our resources and speed up. So the book, the Innovation Research Agenda, it is the guidance in everything we do. It is the response to the governmental bill, and it's jointly written, and it constitutes of missions, like chapters of all the needs that we need to do, that we have, that needs attending to by research. And we have taken a leading role here, writing this book, but it cannot be done by ourselves. Of course, we need also the government to feed in resources to us to be able to become this strong industry. So the agenda itself is an invitation to you all to work with us, to think new, to think big, and to think together. The agenda can be summarized in this view. The vision of Sweden Food Arena is sustainable food production for growth in Sweden and enjoyment around the world. And you see here the goals we have. This, to come top 3, create those 50,000 new jobs, and find a new innovation giving 1 billion euros, but also remember that we need also to increase the export. And here you see the colorful chapters. And I thought I should go through them one by one and give example how hemp possibly could fit in those missions and what could be done to develop the hemp field. Mission 1, that is the world's most attractive food and drink. And here we want to create this conscious consumer around the world choosing Swedish food due to their unique values. And to do that, one has to understand the consumer in depth. One needs to know its preferences, because we are facing a change in the food system. We need to produce other types of food, other protein resources and sources, and that could be rather tricky in taste and texture and other matters. So we need to know more exact what the consumer wants to be able to fit that new food into their demand. And one example is, for example, terroir and meroir. We need to be much better in Sweden to understand that. And to think about hemp then, in this case, we will probably grow that in soils that are unique. The Nordics offer very special growing cultivation circumstances with a cold climate, a lot of sun, and then special soil, young soil. And an area of development is the description of the product that are grown in Sweden. They are special because of those circumstances. And we need to develop a language for that, to describe what it means to be grown. What does it mean to eat strawberries from the north part of Sweden? And we also need to understand what the process of the product, how that affects the taste. That is also an area of research. Our second mission deals with the innovation itself, innovation system, and how it's formed. Because we remember the goals of the 50 new innovation giving all that revenue, all that turnover. We also need a very good innovation system, and preferably world leading. And it should be adapted to our business, the food sector, and we need to attract talent and capital. And one important subject in this chapter is the creation of the new business models. And here I believe hemp has a beautiful position by the fact that it already has a lot of business models associated. We need in Sweden a new infrastructure, and that needs, of course, to have a business case that is black. And I think to have associated businesses around hemp would support such an effort to find that sort of infrastructure, that factory that we need. And I want to point out that a very beneficial situation is that those business models associated, we already have competence in Sweden, as mentioned before this morning. Like, we know already about paper and fiber industry, and we also have developed dairy analogs in Sweden. So I think that the human capital, the competence is here. And I think maybe one should explore that to figure out what to do. Mission 3, that deals with the healthier life. If you would ask a consumer, they would say that health and sustainability is one of the most important features of the food they want to eat. And we think that Mission 3, we need at 2030, we have consumers choosing better food for their health. That is our goal. And to do that, of course, again, we need to understand our consumer, and we need to also understand what creates health effect. And at the same time, they need to be tasty. Otherwise, people will not eat it. And here we are rather well funded now. We have centers created to address this area. what is healthy food and how will we make it tasty? And in association to hemp, of course, we could find centers to explore the nutritional values of the product, but also maybe explore combination of mixes of nutrients, and of course the dairy and meat analogs. We need to put resources in to explore that. And I'm just wanted to mention the Greta generation, we call it here, and think about that, how that generation, when they look at that segment of consumers at her age, they require sustainability and they are ready to pay. Food in Sweden is very cheap. It's only 10% of the disposable income. And this generation is ready to pay for sustainability. And that gives a great hope to us, because it means that we might dare to invest. And we know already that plant-based food market is unsaturated. And that is very hopeful. The fourth mission deals with a resource-efficient food sector. This is a very big chapter. It deals with technology, because we're going to, in 10 years, have created the resilience and sustainable food sector. And you need techniques to achieve that. You need operational excellence. And we are ready to do research in techniques like AI and maybe blockchain technology, and simply creating smart industries. And I just wanted to give one example we do right now. We are working in an AI project where we want to create a self-led industry, that it can, dependent on the raw material, it will lead itself and pull the levels accordingly. And because for humans, this can be very difficult because we deal with natural resources that are variable, and if there are so many data points, it's difficult for a human to have all those data in mind at the same time. Because for the food industry, it's very important that the final product is rather stable. And this is a project ongoing, and I'm thinking for hemp, if we're going to some point in the future, and I hope that is realized, build an infrastructure, we need to make sure it is smart and that it uses all the available techniques that we have, so it can produce the products in efficiency with very little waste. And also the waste needed, we should be able to refine. Or the waste created, at least it should be refined. And I'm also seeing that blockchain might be the technique for provenance and climate effort. What if, since hemp is a carbon sink, what if the blockchain could offer you to compensate for climate directly on the consumer side using technique? And also be in contact with the producers of hemp via blockchain. These are visions we have at the arena. Here comes the last and the most challenging mission we have, a climate neutral food production in 15 years. Here we need to reduce, of course, the carbon dioxide footprint throughout the value chain. There's a lot of steps here, a lot of logistics, for example. And we need to mobilize ourselves and also start measuring what are the emissions. And we need to develop food that has a lesser footprint. That is our goal. We have both possibilities and challenges in the northern part of Europe. We know the challenges is that we need to face that we are going to change the food system. We can have no waste, we need high output and traceability, and we need to find a new protein source. The benefit is that we have 500,000 hectares in fallow, so not used today, that are open fields to be able to be cultivated. And the soil is very special. It is from the Ice Age. It's only like around 8,000 years old, and it's hydrated and fertile. And also we have a rather cold growth season and a lot of exposure to sun. So it is special. And that gives hope to hemp, because though, what if we could grow hemp in those fields? And also, hemp uniquely offers the fact that it is a carbon sink, and it could be the candidate for the new protein source, potentially the analog for meat and milk. So our focus now at Arena, we focus on the plant-based protein. We already fought for funding, and it's here. So we encourage the industry to apply and to form those consortia together to be rational. And there is areas that we spoke about now, the gastronomical and nutritional science, they're all in place, as well as sustainability in centers, and they are funded. And they are ready to work with us. We are working also on finding what is industrial excellence. What is this? What does it include? What does it mean? Because food industry actually ask for some sort of checklist, how to build an industry that is not a museum, how to build that it is in time and open for changes, and because we don't know how the future looks like. In parallel, at Arena, we are looking at the innovation system and what is an innovation system working for us? How should it look like? Because the most food companies in Sweden, they are small, and they are on the countryside, far from the universities, and also, so they need our support. They need a change of the system to be able to increase the innovation among them. So what can we do for hemp? We can actually offer consortia formation, and that for certain will have the industry context first. In everything we do, all the policy work and all the consortia, that we are focused on the industry's problem. This might sound like it should be obvious, but actually it is not, and we want to change that. We work according to this. And we also offer resource maximization, a greater return of effort when solving problems. What if you can do it together with others? And it should be future-proof as well. We should develop solutions with height and new thinking and utility. And Arena uniquely also offer the system perspective, because many of those issues that we spoke about, we just talked about here, is the climate change, and that is a change that needs to happen in the system. It is not only one step in the value chain that needs to change, it's all of it. And Arena offers such a place. And then of course, what we offer is to be part of the journey and to be able to influence. And because our goals, they are sharp and ambitious, and we create wealth, we know that. And we invite you all to be a part of it. So you're welcome to work with us, and thank you very much.
We will move into collaboration session. We've been talking the whole day about all these amazing things that you can do with hemp, thousands of products, stakeholders, value chains, infrastructure, so many different things. But how are we going to do it? Alone or together? Well, in this conference, we believe that if you want to succeed with hemp, you must go together with others. So therefore, it is my pleasure to hand over the collaboration session to another moderator who is an excellent person working with collaboration her whole days. She is the director of the Innovation Institute for the countryside, and she's also working as a consultant bridging the gap. So I give a warm welcome to Helena Cookie from Innovation Center, who's been going to be the moderator for collaboration session. Thank you so much, Helena, and welcome to this session.
Thank you very much, Clara. And this day has been amazing. I've been behind the scenes, so I've been moderating on the technical side so far, and following everything that has been said. So congratulations, all of you who has participated in different roles. Who am I to moderate a collaboration session? I'm first of all extremely honored to have this position as the last person in the lounge area. So I work with the Innovation Center, the Rural Innovation Center, based here in the same area as we are filming and the same area where Clara is based. Our goal and our mission in life is actually to make people collaborate as much as possible, because we are all part of a system and we all need each other. So we cannot be too much on our own, and we cannot not reach out to each other because we do need each other. And I know that many of you have said that already in this during this day. In practical terms, what we do is that we connect entrepreneurs with the resources in the innovation system in Skåne and in the whole of Sweden. But we also connect different groups, different organizations, different stakeholders together to actually join forces to make things happen a bit quicker, a bit better, and mostly a bit more sustainable and resilient for the future. So what we have here is that we have 4 very inspiring speakers. They have a very short presentation, introduction note, to present the organizations and the ideas that they are working with on a daily basis. And then we're going to have a little bit of a discussion. How can we join forces even more? How can we reach out to each other even more? What can Sweden learn from the US? What can maybe the US scene learn from Sweden? We don't know. So that will be the part of the last discussion and the last part of this program in all. First of all, gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Marie Elving, and she is of course a person that you've seen in the studio here. And apart from being an excellent chat moderator, Marie is also of course involved in the Swedish Industrial Hemp Association Sweden. So with that very short introduction, Marie, please introduce yourself and what your organization is doing.
Thank you very much, Helena. Right, it is my pleasure to be here today to represent the Swedish Industrial Hemp Network, where we are working actually just for like what this conference is called, for a fossil-free bio-based future using hemp as a material source. I'm engaged in this organization because I started a company in 2008 where I needed a platform myself for my organization to stand on. I had a dream to have a whole department store with hemp products, and I did actually have an online store that sold everything from yarn to hemp insulation and hand molded biodegradable plastic bowls out of hemp. It was very hard for the customer to see the red line through all that, but I loved it. Now I focus on building materials and consultancy more. But I found the Swedish Hemp Network, which was started in 2000 in approximately year 2000 by a group of people who wanted to facilitate legal growing of hemp in Sweden. The farmer Ulf Hammarsten, who you can see on this picture here, he went ahead of us and imported certified seeds from Europe and just planted them and then reported himself to the police in order to battle it out until we had the right to do it, and we did in 2003. I would like to say also that Ulf passed away last year, so we send him some good thoughts up there wherever he is. So what we are, the ship where the flag we're holding up is that hemp is such a multifaceted raw material that you can do anything with. As we have seen today, it's easy to get very philosophical when you start talking about all the rings on the water that this day and all the different hemp enterprises could bring for the world. Really positive things. One thing is carbon storage, for example. That could be our what's it called, SUP, USP, I mean, even. But also just to complement the forestry industry and the paper industry, and do a lot of good environmental work, just being used more. So okay, this is we have all sorts of activities. This is one thing that we do. For example, arranging conferences and courses. We have led building courses, and through our members, we try to reach out to people and introduce hemp into their businesses and their lives. Which is what we hope that if you become a member and you want to be in this platform with us, that you will want to engage yourself as well. Here again is a perfect example of the sort of the green network that the hemp can. There was another picture there. That one, yeah. That where farmers and building industry can collaborate to create something that is beneficial for society and the environment. So if you, next one. So if you want to join the conversation, join the development, please join the Swedish Hemp Association. And with this also we need to obviously reach across and collaborate with people from all over the world. And I would like to hear more what's happening in the US with hemp development, because as we heard from Kim Kovacs earlier today, you're coming very much more from a market-orientated point of view, and we're coming from a government-orientated point of view. Maybe we can help each other. So welcome to the show, Rick Trojan.
Very good. Thanks a lot, Marie. Thanks a lot. Good opening speech. And as you said, Marie, we would like to welcome Rick Trojan to the scene on a more digital base. It's a great pleasure to have you actually the physical in the room. But Rick, welcome to the floor. A very quick introduction of you with 20 plus years in entrepreneurial experience. You have a vast global network, but also you say that you have a passion for hemp. So all these three parts of your history and of who you are, what do you bring to the collaboration table?
Hey there, from the U.S., from Denver. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm gonna go ahead and try to share my screen.
Great to have you here.
All right, can everyone see?
Yes, we can see. Excellent.
Okay, great, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here at Industrial Hemp Conference. Thank you for everyone. It's been a great conference. People chime in and listen to all the great things happening, all the great things that hemp can do. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the current state of hemp in the U.S. A little background. I'm the president of the Hemp Industries Association. We are the nation's oldest and largest hemp association. We've been around nearly 30 years. Also, the board director for Vote Hemp, which is the advocacy arm for the past 20 plus years. Board director at US Hemp Roundtable, also advocacy arm focused mainly on CBD. And then I do a lot of supply chain, both domestic and internationally, with industrial hemp farms here in Denver, Colorado. I've been around the world studying this plant on all 6 continents that grow it, and lots of exciting stuff happening all over the world. So lots of opportunity for Sweden to get involved. The U.S. crop report brought to us by Vote Hemp from 2018 to 2020. So if you look in 2018, we had about 3,500 farmers licensed, and we did about 78,000 acres planted. 19, we jumped that to over 200,000 acres planted. Keep in mind, corn is hundreds of millions of acres, so it's still a very, very small amount. But we did 200,000 acres, harvested about 130, and then last year had a very big drop in licensed acres and acres harvested. So we only did, if you look at the next slide, we only harvested about 50% of what was planted in 2020, but it was almost 75% less than what we planted in 2018 and 2019, or what was harvested rather. So the good news is currently we're under a new regime coming in the end of 2021. Everything has to be approved. All state plans and tribal plans have to be approved by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. As of last week, Idaho was the 50th state to come on. So all 50 states have USDA approved plans, and we have over 40 native tribes with programs that are approved. So as we'll see, the market has gone down quite a bit, and there are less farmers and less acres, but that's as a result of a couple of factors, and we'll get into what that is allowing, the opportunities that's creating for the market here domestically and internationally. Our friends at Nutrition Business Journal, Todd Runstad's on the board with me there at the HIA, and he provided this information for us. The total hemp CBD market. So obviously, as we know, there's the flower portion of the plant, which has cannabinoids, terpenes, and medicinal value. There's the stalk and stem portion of the plant, which is the bioplastics, herds, fibers, textiles. And then there's the grain, right? The seed of the plant, which is food, animal feed, oil products, and those sorts of things. So this is just the CBD market. And as you can see, there's a big fall in sales and in growth from 2019 to 2020, as we felt across the globe. But we're seeing they're expecting about a 20% increase in CBD, and we'll get into some of that oversupply here in a moment. But with that oversupply of CBD, there was essentially, most of those acres grown in 2018, 2019 were cannabinoids. So there was, the price went from $5,000-$6,000 a kilo down to $300-$400 a kilo, right? And over a course of about a year. So there was a flood of supply in the market. Prices dropped tremendously. People stopped farming. But the good news is the price of corn and wheat and the rest of the commodities really didn't start going up until 2021. So some of the farmers have moved from cannabinoid production to more traditional industrial farming and agriculture for the fiber and the grain. Specifically, grain production increased quite a bit over the last few years. Most of our grain is still sourced from Canada. Canada is still the leader in hemp seed, right? Hemp grain production. Again, used for oil, used for food, used for animal feed. So this is projected to have a compound annual growth rate of 16.5% through 2025. So pretty solid growth rate there. On the other side of the hemp plant, uses of the hemp plant, as we've talked about a lot here, and Pauline talked about a little bit before, the textiles, the fiber side, right? Textiles, BMW, Audi currently uses hemp in their door panels. They use it for insulation. I was in Puerto Rico last week, and they were building houses with hemp and waste material right on the island, utilizing their waste material for actually increasing the thermal value of a home, which is fantastic when you live in a jungle, right? So fiber growth in the States is increasing. Our bottleneck there is processing, right? Getting processing systems in that are scalable and that work, right? So because as you produce fiber, eventually it's going to come to efficiencies of scale of production. So They've done that in the EU, particularly in Netherlands, I know in France. We'd like to have that technology here. And that has a CAGR of 10.5 over the next 4 years. So again, decent annual growth rates, and the focus again is more of a shift from cannabinoid cultivation to grain and fiber cultivation. So we'll see a lot more opportunities for market growth, research and development, and I think that's the areas for collaboration between the US and Sweden to start is just that research, right? And getting those fiber and those particular genetics that operate at both places, and doing the research right together in collaboration. So that's really a drive on the fiber and grain side from where we're looking. I'll close out here quickly. We have some new legislation that brings hope and opportunity for the market. Hemp is legal here nationwide. However, banks still are closing accounts, misunderstanding what folks do, thinking that CBD is marijuana, not understanding how the plant operates. Most folks in the space have had a few bank accounts closed and had to move processors and financial, getting credit cards and those sorts of items. So the Safe Banking Act is an act that just passed the House and needs to go across to the Senate for approval, but that would essentially allow banks and to transact with hemp companies, so that are selling CBD, provide financial services, insurance, loans, credit card processing, those sorts of items would be explicitly allowed under the Safe Banking Act. The second piece of legislation is in the House called HR 841. And that's the Hemp and Hemp-Derived CBD Consumer Protection and Market Stabilization Act. So that would essentially confirm that hemp CBD is allowed as an ingredient. It would provide protections for the consumer, like testing, labeling, those sorts of items, and really allow the market to then grow on a much larger scale, right? Allowing these large consumer product groups to use CBD in their products. So those are the two big pieces of legislation we have domestically. And I want to wrap it up I'm super excited to be here again. Thank you for having me. And I love the quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So love to collaborate. That's the name of the game, particularly when we're in different parts of the world. There's lots of opportunity to look at different aspects of the plant. And so I look forward to the collaboration session and the Q&A later.
Thank you very much, Rick. That was an excellent introduction, I think, and you gave us a few ideas on what to discuss later on. So please hang in there, and we'll hear more from you in the final discussion. Next, I would like to introduce to you Liga Appelgren, who is the founder of Hampaföreningen Sweden and Hampa Löv, which is translated Hampa Leaf. And you are doing various pieces of networking platforms and other initiatives to actually make people connect and make it possible to grow hemp as well. So welcome, Liga, to the stage. And please give us a short introduction on who you are and what you are doing on the collaboration scene.
Hello, thank you so much. I want to start with that this is my first ever Zoom meeting, so I'm very excited about this. I hope it's going to go well, and it would. And I want to thank you all of you moderators, and Clara, most of all. Like, you have created a great opportunity for everybody to be here, to meet. Done a great job, so thank you for that. About me, so I started Hampa Löv 2 years ago, and that grew out of actually a search for me, what is purpose of life for me, because I realized that I want to be there for other people, and because all I knew back then was to grow hemp, to create my own products, both from hemp and other products that I grew in my garden. I realized that I can help others now because I have this experience, and Hampa Löv is sharing this experience with others. So to make it easier and more available to all of the hemp enthusiasts, I created an organization that is sharing with information, helping people to start their own legal growings or hemp fields here in Sweden, and buying in also hemp seeds. I want to see if I can share the screen with you, because I have prepared a presentation where you can see what Hemp Love is doing. Let's see if everything is going well.
Yes, we can see it. Yes, we can see, and if you just put it on the slideshow mode.
Let's see. I can start the slideshow.
It's in. You find a little icon at the bottom of your page, perhaps.
Can you tell me, was it F1 or F2 if I can just start it quickly?
Go down to the right corner.
Yes.
There, right there, down there.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did it.
Great.
Thank you. So the first picture is the seeds. What I did this year was I bought, the organization is very small. We have a lot of members that are helping with donating money to make this all possible. And still there's a lot of private finances also going into this. So this year I bought 300 kilos of different kind of certified hemp seeds that I repackaged in 1 kilo and 5 kilo packages to make it possible for small growers to grow their own hemp and see what they want to do with their hemp. So this is how the process looks like. It's very small scale. And then when you grow your own hemp, this is only in the picture you see the ways how farmers in Sweden that I know are experimenting with whatever they grow, because there are no knowledge about it left as far as I know how to cultivate hemp. Unfortunately, it was also forbidden here in Sweden to grow hemp, so we have to start from scratch. I come from Latvia, where it's the traditions of growing hemp it was never prohibited to do that in Latvia. So I have this knowledge and I want to share with everybody how to do it. And in Latvia, we did it small scale. So as I see my role in all this movement here in Sweden is that I could share all the knowledge that I've gathered and start small steps. The people who grow their 1 kilo of seeds, maybe next year they will add up and have 5 kilos or like bigger acres of the land that they're growing. And slowly we can make this grow together. So here you can see that I experiment with my own grown hemp and make some hemp bowls with fibers and twine the fibers to just see what is possible to do. And some people might see it and get inspired and think, oh yeah, I can make a hemp paper. And to do it here in Sweden, as far as I know, nobody does the hemp paper. But if a small grower comes to me and then I can help him to start his small hemp field, he can experiment himself and realize what techniques he wants to use, what product he wants to create, and then it's just level it up. And there comes in the and here you can see also another farmer who is growing hemp and creating their own hemp bricks, and it's very small scale. They're making like an oven for the ceramics that they are making. So this is just a small project that might be bigger in the future, because now when they made their own bricks themselves, they could cooperate with a company that is doing it large scale. And another part of what Hemp Love is doing is it is it is a platform for hemp growers and hemp hemp lovers to meet. Now you can see there's a map where all the growers, not all of the growers, but those who wanted to be on the hemp map can be seen. So if you as a person who wants to find your own local closest hemp farmer, can look into this map and then call to your farmer and get in contact directly. And my experience is that these contacts lead to very good collaborations and cooperations, and even for the farmer, it is a very good thing to learn to know your customer, because then you know the demand and you can go from there. You know what sorts of hemp maybe you should grow next year, because people are wanting to buy hemp seeds instead of hemp buds. That was very popular a couple of years ago when it was not so controversial with CBDs. So the market is changing, and the hemp map is very good in that way, that you can learn to know your hemp grower. And here you can see beautiful pictures from the best photographer that I know in the hemp field, Maureen Creams. She made some beautiful pictures about my hemp products, or the organization hemp products. And these are the products that people buy, and then they can make their own hemp food. And there is also a new possibility, one more possibility to expand, because not all people can grow hemp. And not all people can produce. So it is very important to find what you want to do with what is your calling, or what are you best at. So if the demand is very huge, that's my experience, that people want to eat hemp and taste hemp and smell hemp and clothe in hemp. It's only there are no borders, as we were taught. Another part of the Hampa Loves activities is to represent hemp in different activities, inviting people in the hemp field, let them taste and see and feel the hemp and get inspired. A lot of people who have come to my field to just pick some hemp, later on come back and then they want to buy hemp seeds and start growing their own hemp. And in the markets, I'm mostly talk with people who are positive to cannabis and different cannabis products, but sometimes I have to really assure that this is no drug, and that is or it is a drug, it is a good drug, but that it's not illegal. And I explain and I talk, and I think it's a very important part of every hemp grower to be the communicator, to be the normalizer, to be the one who tells the truth about hemp. And yeah, these are the best parts of being into the hemp business, if you can call it. So that's about it for me. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you very much, Liga. Excellent. And we are looking forward to the discussion later. And I think that you come with a very different perspective so far, the three of you. But before we go into the joint discussion, I would like to welcome our fourth inspirational speaker on collaboration, and that is Mandy Lynn Kerr. And I will try to do a very short presentation of you, Mandy, and please feel free to fill in, of course. But you are the CEO and founder of the Global Hemp Association, and you're dedicated to growing the industrial hemp industry. And the key is relationships. So we are very interested to hear what you are giving us today. So please, Mandy, a warm welcome to you. Fixing your camera. Most welcome, Mandy. It's an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you, guys. You can hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. Well, I'm so impressed. This has been incredibly educational, and what great connections I've made already. Rick, thank you very much already for sharing all of your information. Collaboration is where I started in this, and it was really interesting to me as I got into it to find out the lack of opportunity that the industry had initially to bring people together and network, build relationships, connect to the supply chain. And so that's exactly why I started doing what I'm doing. You know, when we talk about collaborating and who we're going to work with, bringing people together, I have a passion for the people and for the relationships, where I know a lot of other associations and organizations were heavily focused on the lobbying or legislation or building materials. And so where I found a lot of opportunity and growth is connecting people and creating events where people can come together on a regular basis to educate, ask questions, and start talking about what we're doing. And I think that in order to grow the industry and really be able to collaborate, we have to have trust. And I think that that comes with communication and networking, building those relationships. And so the association, Global Hemp Association, we host 10 to 12 events per month. I do a weekly education series, and we've broke down different aspects similar to what you guys did today, which is fabulous. I would love to continue to share what you guys are doing and promote, collaborate and promote each other's content. And then I do a number of interviews. I've done just over 200 interviews with different executives throughout the industry, with a goal of bridging this gap and focusing on, what do the big brands and buyers and consumers need? What are the standards? What are the specifications? And start those conversations and bringing those people together around the same table. We're seeing this right now. I think it was talked about earlier when we talked about architecture, and the amount of impact that's made at the level of architecture, and having those discussions as we're developing the standards or the building, code or the carbon impact and footprint, and where do those architects come together to have those discussions. And so my goal has been to put a microphone in front of them and create a platform focused on member connections. And so I think all of us are incredibly valuable and important from different angles. But yeah, I definitely have focused in the connecting people and bringing people together, from universities to USDA, public-private partnerships, money coming in here in the United States, and then also being able to utilize experiences that we've had to grow Sweden's market, as we talk about scalability and how do we bring product from small scale to these big industries. I think that it's going to take a collaboration of co-op model almost, or a coalition, right? Where we can support our rural farmers and our small scale on a competitive price with big contracts to feed into big contracts, as well as moving, being able to move production to different areas. It's going to take collaboration. So my goal is to have a platform and be able to present it to you guys and offer it to you guys through a number of events every month, and deliver from there.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mandy. Let me then welcome the rest. We have Marie here in the studio, and welcome the rest of you on the digital stage to have a little discussion, a little think tank in a very, very short moment of time. But still, maybe we can come up with a few good ideas together. Let me just give you a brief overview of what have I heard today in terms of collaboration and in terms of who should maybe contact and network with each other. And there are different angles on the collaboration, I think. We're talking about the value chain, so that we need to connect and we need to fill the gaps in the value chain. Okay, how can we do that with collaboration? How can we, in the networks, actually search for and find people, finances, and so forth to fill the gaps? So that might be one version, one area of collaboration. And then we've heard a lot about knowledge. We have an old crop which has paused, so we need to start over again, as Liga said. We need to learn from the past, and we need to learn all over again. So it's actually a new crop and it's an old crop. So maybe there we can have some collaboration, how to actually build the knowledge and the information that has been stated here today. And maybe between industries as well. Helena Wellberg said today that maybe flax and hemp can share a development agenda. So that could be another possibility for cooperation and collaboration. Kim Kovacs said this morning, we need an industrial revolution and we need new infrastructure. So how can we collaborate to build those infrastructures? There has been a lot about collaboration and cooperation today. So I would like to a very brief round between the four of you. When you think of collaboration from your point of view, what are the opportunities? Of course, they are vast, but if you just give us some very short examples. But also, what are the challenges as you see today? What is it that we need to bridge? What challenges do we need to overcome? Would you like to start, Marie, to say what are the opportunities, but also the challenges in cooperation and collaboration?
The opportunities are endless, I would say. I mean, we have so much to learn from every one of these people who have taken part all day today. So I don't think really we have anything to lose. The hard part is maybe because hemp is such a amazingly useful plant that has so many different areas of use. So I think maybe, I mean, you can collaborate over hemp, but it'll be kind of easier to maybe sort this into different sections, like which part of the plant or what end product you want to reach in the end, maybe. That would be the challenge.
Yeah, to actually have a collaboration that encompasses everything, all the different possibilities. So what if I put the question to the rest of you in the panel? Rick, for instance, what would you say would be the most the biggest opportunity in collaboration? What challenges do you see that we need to overcome?
Yeah, and I think Pauline had mentioned in the session leading up to ours that really there's still a prejudice, right, against hemp, and it comes down to education, right, helping people understand all the different things. This plant can resonate with everyone. It's a matter of just putting it and communicating in a way that helps them understand and educating them, right? And I think to Mandy's point, right, education systems and getting the word out and having just matter of fact conversations goes a long way. So I think there's a big opportunity for our countries and our organizations to all collaborate on helping to educate and getting rid of that prejudice, right? Because we've been indoctrinated incorrectly. It's time to just re-indoctrinate. So with good information. So I think education is where I would start. I think it's where we need to start across the board. So,
yeah, thank you very much, Liga. If you want to give us your point of view.
I would love to continue on that communication because the consumer power is the biggest power actually for hemp market, as I see that. Because when the consumers will demand some kind of product, the product will be made and will be done. So when I'm in the market and getting people out the products like hemp butter or hemp brownies or whatever, they try it and then they like it, and next time they're going after it. But as far as I know, there's no company that makes it big scale like hemp butter. It could be the Sweden's peanut butter if we made it big scale, right? So there is the gap is there, but the communication and just being there, like the small farmers can lift it up if everybody would just decide for themselves. Everybody who's growing hemp, what am I good at? What is my thing? Not everybody has to make hemp foods. It could be medicine, it could be clothes and whatever. But just when you decide it and then you just keep doing it, and your customers will come and demand will grow if the product is good. Most of the times it is good. Yeah, that's my I would say wish for people that haven't decided yet what do they want to do when they grow their hemp. Just go out there, do something. If people don't like your product or they're not demanding it, then something is wrong and you have to change it and just follow the demand, and then it will be good for you. Like you get the growth is following the demand. That's my put on that.
Supply and demand. Thank you. So last but not least, Mandy, what challenges and opportunities do you see?
Oh, I think that there's so many great organizations that have opportunity and have collected a lot of knowledge and a lot of information from seed all the way to cradle, right, on the circularity side in general, and being able to collaborate to come together with big brands again, or organizations that have credibility, that have organizations that may not be in hemp, but bridging our gap to support farmers. And I'll use a Farm Bureau as an example. Right? Being able to link arms with organizations that are not necessarily in hemp and being able to say, we stand behind this because we see it, and being able to introduce that new group and new audience. Now, I think challenge comes to bringing everybody together into the same room and having that discussion, and so I think that I put it out to really linking arms with, who we believe in, and again, where our association is not focused is where Vote Hemp may be very focused. And so being able to say, where do our members and where do our companies need to be and work as a team. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of wise things, and I'm just to focus on what you said, Liga, for everybody to say, what is my place? Where do I want to make a difference? But also to reach out, as you say, Mandy, to the next person who can I do this with. But to come back to the gaps in the value chain, because those are infrastructural gaps. We cannot overcome only with knowledge and education. So my question to you is, what do you see on a more infrastructural level? What would be a good place to start to actually get the ball rolling, or the train running? Because there is so much potential, we know that. So apart from education and knowledge, how can we actually make things happen to fill the gaps in the value chain? Whoever wants to go first?
I would love to just reflect on Sweden's situation, when there is actually not so many machines that can harvest the hemp here in Sweden. So a lot of farmers, big scale farmers, are buying or have to buy or invest in machinery or rent them. As a small scale farmer, you don't have a chance to do that maybe in the beginning. So it's a lot of money, and buying a machine together would be a great solution. If a lot of farmers would just go together and use one machine together and rent it out, cooperate in that way, that could be a solution. And I don't know every farmer here in Sweden, but as I know, maybe 20 farmers, small scale farmers, that could use a machine. But there needs to be somebody who takes care of it, who joins all of them together and says, now we're doing this, a cooperation. Maybe some people should invest a small amount of money, but the result could be amazing if we do that. Yeah. That's the big situation.
Excellent. It's another way of showing your collaboration, to actually join forces in co-owning. Which is also, when it comes to sustainability, it's a good idea. So who else wants to go on this, next on this question?
I'd love to.
Mandy, please.
Go on.
I would like to add to what you just said when you say co-owning. I think co-owning the entire value chain also. A lot of co-ops existing in the past have been the farm product comes to the processing, and then the processing facility processes it. But then at that point, it doubles value, right? And then it goes to another piece of the supply chain, and it doubles value again. If we can collaborate to bring that end product and have ownership of that entire supply chain, I think the value increases back to our farmers even greater. And so I think that,
thank you. Thank you very much. Marie?
Yes. Also, it would help to have more support from above, from the government, that they supported this type of development in the agricultural politics, and that they could see a little bit further with how, like, beyond like a mandate period, with what industries that they should support. And I mean, the forestry industry is super well established here, as we all know, and if we had like just a fraction of what they have in support, then we could make something even greater, I think, with hemp. So a little bit of support from there would be nice.
Yep. So some lobbying and some support.
Yes.
A final remark on this, Rick. What do you see is needed to actually build the value chain and to bridge the gaps in the value chain?
You know, I think patience, right, is number one. What's needed. I think we need to get understand that we need to make sure that we have genetics, right, that work for the latitudes, the environments, right, of Sweden, and what are those genetics? Is it fiber, right? Is it cannabinoids? Is it grain? So this crop's grown tremendously in that region of the world, right? So we just need to reintroduce farmers to it, and then collaborate. What have we learned here in the States? What have we learned in Europe previously? What have we learned in China, Australia, right? Different latitudes, different environments. So research and development, right, and collaboration between universities, I think, is also key, right? To make sure that we have the right cultivars for that environment, so that we can be effective and efficient. And to Linga's point, we can have small co-ops that can maximize value of that entire supply chain. So I think Mandy and Linga hit it right on the head, and I think it starts with getting the right genetics and getting the right farmers to have the patience to, you know, give it a couple of seasons to really acclimate and start producing efficient and effective products.
Thank you very much. I think patience is a good word, but sometimes it's very hard. But for an entrepreneur to be told to be patient could sometimes be a bit hard. But I think it's very true, very true. I think it's time to let our audience in and to see if there is something in the chat. And I know that Clara has been looking at the chat and Maria has been looking at the chat. Is there anything interesting in terms of questions or ideas or statements that we want to comment on together?
Well, there was one post here from Michael Bieder, who says that collaboration is great. However, we need to understand that we need a strong, demanding market in order to succeed long term, as we have seen from Rick's presentation. If the market collapses, we are back to square one. So we need to make sure we build a solid foundation of diverse customers. In the bioeconomy, diversification is the key to economical success, since the input is very expensive in comparison to fossil-based input materials. Never underestimate the pressure of market price. This is a good point.
Very wise, very good point. Any comment on that, my panel?
Yeah, I don't think you'll find a more diverse plant than hemp, right? So I 100% agree. So yeah, diverse, and it's just a matter of right processing. So, Linga?
Yeah, I wanted to add that even diversity, let's say we have one hemp field, a farmer who's growing one hemp field can do a lot of different products from this one hemp field. There comes in also a way of cooperation, like the 5 farmers are growing one hemp field, and one of them is making hemp seed oil, the other one is taking care of the buds, and the third one is taking care of the fiber. That is also a good way to do effectively cooperate with one hemp field and doing those all kind of products in one hemp field, and maybe even in one location in one big hall, or yeah, you have the machinery there, you have everything at the same place.
And Mandy, did you have a comment on this as well?
I think you guys summed it up really well. I'd say even diversifying from industry to industry, right? If we're growing fiber, really linking up textiles to, say, construction material and being able to walk alongside for production, because one's waste is another person's treasure. right? And so being able to diversify for cost and add to value.
And I think it's overturning the ways that we are looking at development historically, and the ways that we are looking at different businesses historically. And maybe it's also a little push to see, are we looking at demand differently, or can we look at demand differently? To be able to be innovative in this, maybe we need to challenge the ways of thinking that we are all marinated in. But I totally agree that demand is important, but how can we drive demand? Maybe there are a few new answers to that question that we haven't read in the school books.
I have a great idea that you can create actually demand yourself by creating a good product. A good product will sell itself. So if a person or a company comes up with a good idea or good product, then the demand will be there. That's my experience, and yeah, that's just to do and just to experience and try to make new products with hemp and stand for it and just continuing doing it and developing the product. Yeah, that's how I create my demand or for the products that I create.
Well, and I think for the first time, we're seeing an industry driven by consumers, right? Our consumers want better product, and they want a sustainable product, and they want to know where it's coming from. And so this creates opportunity. It's a matter of, reality of what will consumers buy and how much more will they pay. Will they pay for an $80 t-shirt if that's what it's going to cost out of hemp, or with better infrastructure, we're able to reduce costs and offset the market, right?
True. So patience and what did you say, Rick? Give it 2 or 3 seasons. Maybe we have a different scene. So step by step, perhaps. Marie, would you like to comment on this? What you read?
Yes, I was reading on about.
Okay, if you want to move on to the next question, I think we have time for one more question from the chat for the panel.
Well, there's someone here asking any market in Sweden developing for CBD products or fiber and food first, which I think. When we're talking about diversification and using the whole plant, there's always whichever fraction you want to do something with it, which is going to be your sort of main product. There's always going to be waste that you can do something else with, and we don't want to waste anything. So it's a very good idea to diversify and maybe share production, like Liga says. Different people take care of different parts of the plant. I think that's great. Good way to collaborating.
Yep. Thank you very much.
I would love to add on that. That's a great way for us to learn from United States, to normalize cannabis, to normalize, decriminalize it. Then there's no problem with CBDs anymore, right? So talking about it, normalizing hemp and cannabis is a way to start here in Sweden, at least.
Yeah, there was a moment in time when they thought CBD was marijuana here in the States, and a lot of states and a lot of jurisdictions. So we've overcome that battle and on to the next for sure.
Very good. Thank you. So I think do we have another short question in the chat, or would we like to move on to?
Have you seen one, Clara? Any more questions?
I don't know if I should. There's a lot of talking going on. Hello, Rick, Mandy, and Liga. So nice to see you and to have you here in our conference. We have a lot of chatting going on here about diversification and what seed to focus on, and so on. So. There has been one question actually asked directly to Liga if she could tell us what seed she preferred to grow for her food.
Finola and Erlina are my choices. That's what I've grown and I've tried. Erlina because of the smooth taste of the seeds, and Finola because it's very productive. And the only variety, as far as I know, here in the north part of the Europe, that you can harvest with the help of the machinery that we have here in Sweden. Farmers that are growing beans and peas and rapeseed can use the same machinery to harvest the hemp. So that's my choice, Finola and Erlina.
Okay, thank you very much. And I would like just to sum up this collaboration session. Sometimes it's very interesting to actually look a bit behind us to see how far have we come. And I think since I learned industry got to know the hemp industry, at least it's my to my knowledge, there has been some very great steps just recently, and we heard about a few of them today as well. So maybe if we stay tuned for another 2 or 3 years, and we sit here in this sofa again, we will be able to look back at a lot of things, good things happening. And I'm sure that you all agree that collaboration is one of the key elements to actually do this. And so that the hemp network, the global hemp network, constituted of everybody's networks, will actually be much stronger. So by that, I would like to thank our collaboration panel a lot. Thank you very much for bringing so much good ideas and good knowledge. And I think the collaboration agenda has just started, or it's in the beginning. It started, of course, way back, but I think we will see much more of this, because this is also in other businesses a key area to success. So Clara, where are we on final remarks? Are you ready to take on?
Yes, I'm ready. And thank you again to Rick and to Liga and to Mandy, to Marie and to you, Helena, for an amazing and interesting session. It was so nice to just sit back and listen and learn. Patience is a virtue. That is something that you learn as a hemp entrepreneur. And time, you need to take it step by step. We're working with a plant. I met Rick the first time in the end of 2019. We were both on the same panel in South Africa, Cape Town, at Canatech Global Summit. And we were also then speaking in a collaboration session around the supply chain. And a lot has happened since then, both, I mean, especially in the States, with so much money coming out. Collaboration, we have been talking about collaboration today. We have been talking about knowledge, research, full-scale test lab, do your own products, and so on. I want to take us back to the beginning of this morning when we had Kim Kovach, CEO of the ArcView Group, coming into us midnight from the States and talking about investment. We need investment. This is high technology machines that we need to work with. Not everybody perhaps, but to be able to do a lot of nutritious and great food for many people on a small scale and on a large scale, and to build the houses, to make the clothes. If we look at Denmark and Bodil Palle from the textile session, they received 14 million Danish krona, which is around 1.4 million US, to research whether can Danish hemp replace some cotton in a fashion industry value chain. Here in Sweden, it's difficult to get funds for hemp. So back to the communication, the education, the normalization, the knowledge, the full-scale test lab. We had the mayor of Tomelilla here this morning, Per Martin Svensson, and head of business development, Henrik Lundblad. what they said was they want to put down the flag on the global hemp market and develop a knowledge and full-scale test lab. That is really amazing. So there is also where I see collaboration, because it's a sharing of knowledge that needs to happen, because so many people know things, and we need to to not have to reinvent the wheel, as Bodil was saying also, but to learn from the ones that's been doing this. For example, Rick Troyan, the third, that's been doing this for many years. We have so much to learn from you. So that's where I see like transatlantic collaboration and research projects. We had Kelly Ann Flynn logging in earlier. I don't know if she's still here in the chat, but she is doing research on emerging crops in maybe California or Oregon. I don't remember the name of the university, but that kind of cross-contaminated collaboration where we learn from each other. And I mean, this is a sacred plant that can make so many different products, and none of us didn't even learn about the endocannabinoid system in school. So there is so much knowledge that needs to be coming forward. So a knowledge center that's really what's needed. And of course, everything else that we've been talking about today, business, infrastructure, value chains. There are so many different stakeholders. Like Liga said, there is place for everybody. We were talking about the Greta generation, the buyers, the consumer power, the young generation that are like really caring about our planet, the way we all should. So we don't have time, and like Remy said, can we afford not to buy this material? Like, what are the options? Here she comes back, this sacred plant that can make all these different products. What is there not to like about her? I love that, because we need support in these times. And you that has been here, I'm not sure how many people you are still with us, but you should also be proud of yourself for taking your time, coming here, being here with us, and sharing your knowledge in the chat, talking the chat. I'm sure you all been having a lot of direct messages also. Like, really take opportunity of the knowledge and the network that we wish to be the platform for. You need to push, and you need to stay focused, and to not give up, and continue to push your thing, and to find the right people to work with, because there's so many people there out there. And what did Rick's presentation say? If you go, you can go alone and fast, or you can go far together. And that's really, yeah, I would like to emphasize back on that. But we continue to grow, and for me the most important thing here in Sweden is of course investment. We need to get money into this market segment, as well as to any other market segment that is out there. This is a high-tech industry, this is a biotech industry. So this is an opportunity for innovation, for startup, for research, a whole new market segment in Sweden, talking about packages, Amazon, circular economy, closed circular loops, and really an opportunity for farmers also to make an income. I love that the co-owning of the whole value chain. I think it was Mandy that said that. That is really important, you know, because don't forget the ones that are really the people that is putting their hands on in the earth, and pollution as well. Yes, I mean that one goes without saying, but I guess we shouldn't go without saying that. Really, why are we doing this? Because we want to create a better world for our children. This is about sustainability. This is about innovation for bio-based and fossil-free future.